Well, it's our pleasure for our Oklahoma Newsmaker and Review to have Congressman Kevin Hern along with us from the Oklahoma's first district. And Congressman, I know a lot going on right now. We were kind of talking before we got started. You've been awfully busy. Kind of talk about where you are and what your life is like right now amid COVID-19.
Well, back in Tulsa after that last vote, and so it's been really busy. We've had tens and twenties of of meetings. It's been crazy with all the Zoom meetings. It's been pretty fascinating to see people who have had to learn about technology to get on, and sometimes these calls take a little while to create, just because people haven't done this in the past. But it's brought a whole new meaning to to distance learning. People are dialing in, asking a ton of questions. We've had roundtables with business roundtables with chambers, with other special interest groups. People want to know what's going on, not just in our district, but across the state, across the country. So it's been really busy. I mean, from early in the morning, based on what time zone you're doing these with, to late in the evening, just trying to answer all the questions.
I know there are a lot of questions right now. Some of the ones that we start to see most on social media and in other places, obviously right now have a lot to do with the stimulus package, both for individuals and businesses. First of all, let's kind of talk about the breaking news from this morning that the SBA did close the portal, and a lot of folks wondering right now whether or not there will continue to be appropriations for those who did not apply for the payroll protection loan or the economic injury disaster loan before today. What's the latest that you're hearing on that? And can business people still, if they haven't got funded, expect to maybe see some relief?
Well, the economic injury disaster loan, the EIDL, which was sort of the first bucket of money that became available after Governor Stitt declared the state of emergency. I was actually on a call with Secretary Mnuchin yesterday and asked him specifically about funding on that particular loan package. Unfortunately, it is out of money. It will have to be reauthorized and appropriated in a follow-up bill. In regards to the Payroll Protection Program check, the PPP that we're all seeing, and which is designed to keep employees on their company's payroll and to reimburse the company for their payroll, as you mentioned, was shut down. Actually, around 8 o'clock last night, it was finished. There were some people who got a pending further authorizations of monies, but now it's completely closed down. So, unfortunately, for many of my colleagues out there, the friends of mine that I've known so many years in small business, right now it's politics being played on just a straight line funding of that program. It's worked really well, obviously. Just to put it in perspective, the Small Business Administration usually goes to about 30 to 50,000 loans a year, and this particular PPP legislation, approximately 4 million applications in about 9 days. So this tells you the volume that came through that program. Dollars being allocated to those $1.4 million loans. So right now, what Senator McConnell proposed, or actually last week, was to reauthorize $250 billion to go into that particular criteria of the PPP program. And Speaker Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Schumer didn't want to go through in a clean bill. They wanted to add several $100 billion of additional spending on top of it, and it didn't come out of the Senate. The Senate's gone home, so nothing happened. So, unfortunately, predicted it would run out of money, and it did. And now here we are. We're not scheduled to go back, meaning the House Representatives are not scheduled to go back to Washington until May 4th. So we have to vote on the bill because it's a spending bill. We have to vote on it, and Speaker Pelosi has already said that she's not going to allow a clean authorization of additional monies to that program. And it ought to be very frustrating to everybody out there that wanted to get a loan but was not able to. And it doesn't look like in the foreseeable future, at least the next couple of weeks, there's going to be any more money.
So you're saying right now that there's no way you don't foresee Congress coming back together before May 4th in any type of emergency meeting. You don't see her calling that.
I don't right now. It's unfortunately there's also the issue of the peak coronavirus time frame being around that May 3rd, May 4th time frame. So it's on the rise right now in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. That is obviously creating concern for some members of Congress. If there's actually a bill there that would continue to keep our small businesses open and our people employed, I'll be on the plane tonight, tomorrow to go up there to vote for it. So it's just leadership is in a very, very partisan fight. We just spent $2.5 trillion of American taxpayer money. We borrowed every nickel of it over the last month, and I'm one that thinks we need to let more of that money get into the economy before we go start authorizing more money for hospitals and for states. The money that was for small business we spent it all last night. We need to put more money in that so we can keep more of our small businesses open and more people employed.
I know that as for individuals, a lot of people still checking those bank accounts several times a day to see if maybe their $1,200 or their family stimulus funds have hit. And, for the folks that have not seen that hit as of yet, what can you say to those folks who maybe still have questions as to where that funding might be available and coming?
Well, I know that there's still more ACHs or direct deposits going into people's accounts as it's processed through the computer systems. But unfortunately, for everybody else that wasn't doing direct deposit on their tax refunds, it's the old proverbial checks in the mail, and they will start arriving. I think the whole process is going to last about 3.5 to 4 weeks. So over the next 3 weeks, they'll be getting those checks in the mail if they don't have the direct deposit function. You can also go to irs.gov and you can look, where's my check, and it will track it for you too. So that's an important website to go to, irs.gov, and there's where's my check button. You can also go to our website, hern.house.gov, checks, and we can give you kind of an update and keep you updated on that as well. So hern.house.gov/checks, CHECKS.
If this thing continues and businesses are still forced to shut down and, payrolls continue to be interrupted for people, are you in favor of maybe more stimulus funds down the road? And I know, as you just said, it may be May at the earliest before you could even get back, depending on what leadership does. What type of time frame, if you did see that happening, could you envision?
Well, I see we got a couple of issues here. One, we have businesses that have some revenue, but obviously maybe down 30, 40, 50%, but still have some top-line revenue. And then we can just use examples of restaurants with drive-thrus or takeout or delivery probably are down 30 to 40%. If you're a freestanding restaurant, a traditional restaurant, when you have no drive-thrus and you don't really have any delivery or takeout, then you're down 100% of your revenues. And the PPP program really doesn't do you a whole lot of good because you've laid everyone off to go and be able to get unemployment insurance and the special stipend on top of that for the next 13 weeks. But the reality is that you don't really want to open until you can have some other way to pay all your other costs like rent, utilities, and insurance, all the things that go with it. There may be a better program for that. So the $250 billion is what's appeared to be looked at as far as funding the current plan that would help those that still have revenue. But there's a whole segment of the business world out there, hotels, other businesses with under 500 employees that may need something like a special program stood up inside of the insurance world where you have business interruption that's backed by the government. The reality with all this is that we need to get our economies back open again. And so we need to do it in a safe way, but we can do both. We don't need to be completely closed down, and we don't need to be completely closed up right now. So So we need to look at this. We got to be opened up. We got to look at this and say, okay, what can we do? We know how to social distance. We also know that, hygiene is important. So, probably not going to be a lot of handshakes in the near future, but we need to do this so we can start allowing people to go back, to start, let some of these restaurants open up, hotels, people driving. Just a lot of things that need to happen, and I know the governor's working hard on that, and the mayor as well.
I know that you've got a lot of things to do, so we'll wrap it up here. But, you have a keener insight than a lot of your colleagues on, what business people are going through right now as your family is still involved in the McDonald's restaurant business. You've had a number of different industries that you've forayed into. And what can you tell your fellow entrepreneurs right now? What would be the biggest piece of advice you would give to people who are struggling or trying to figure out whether they can stay the course or not, just from a businessman standpoint?
Yeah, it's according to when you got in. Sometimes you get in at a certain period of time, you really haven't experienced anything that's difficult, so you get real frustrated, and people always think that small businessmen and women are, they've got it made, they finally arrived there, but you also are the last to get paid, and it's important for everyone to know that. Not the people in business, they know that, but for everybody around them, they're the last to get paid. But, as you look at this, and as you allude to, being in business, I'm in business 35 years, and so I've been through the mad cow disease, SARS and MERS, and the H1N1 and Ebola, and all the various other things like 9/11 and the 2009 crisis. And so, you need to save for some rough times. But I will also tell you, there's never been a time like we're seeing right now, regardless of what anyone says that wants to try to give you advice. I would be suspect, because this time right now, we have never had a time where the federal government, because of a virus, has closed and shut off all revenue. And I'm a huge constitutional follower. I think when you look at the Fifth Amendment, the last sentence of it, I would encourage everybody to go look at this, is that when you have eminent domain and the government declares that, basically they've been declared eminent domain on the revenues of all businesses, many businesses in America, there has to be just compensation. And so the unfortunate part in all this is that the money that they're providing for this compensation is my tax dollars. And so the government has no dollars. They only have ours. And so it's basically a redistribution of wealth, a re-leveling of incomes. And that really troubles me, bothers me a lot. And that's why I say we've got this experiment of social distancing. We see what has flattened the curve. Now we need to get our economies opened back up very, very quickly and be responsible, know who to test, and that we can get them safe. But we got to get our economies going again.
All right, Congressman, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.